ダライ・ラマ法14世陛下にお迎えしてですね、講演会をしていただくことになりました。本当に八雲学園にとっても生徒たちにとっても、またご保護の皆さん、また八雲学園の関係者にとっても、本当に名誉なことだというふうに思います。皆さんはその中である意味幸せな人生を送っていることと思います。他者の苦しみを知ることも皆さんにとって大変重要なことであると思います。重ねて申しますが、しっかりと法皇陛下のお話を聞いていただきたいと思います。それでは法皇陛下に敬意と感謝の気持ちを込めて皆さんで礼をしたいと思います。ご来場の皆様もご一緒にお願いいたします。姿勢正してください。 礼。
So, respected
Okay.
leaders and professors and very dear young sisters, I am extremely happy having this opportunity share some of my own sort of experience, and also you see they listen your own sort of today sort of certain sort of a certain point which you feel some concern through question and answer. Differences. I'm old person now, over 78 years old. You see, you are young. And then also, you see, I usually describe my generation. I think you also, you see, my generation. So, our generation belongs to 20th century. Your generation actually belongs to 21st century. From the past, we only sort of get experience or learning, but we can't change past. Future still yet to come, so there's possibility to change. So now, this 21st century should be century of peace, century of non-violence. Century of peace and non-violence does not mean no problem anymore. No, problem remain. Or source of conflict always there. So then, source of conflict there, meantime, try to build a peaceful century. How can? The method, solving the problem or facing the problem, not use force, but through dialogue, try to solve. So therefore, in order to build peaceful century, that means we must build this century should be century of dialogue. Then because, even beginning of this 21st century, of course, no threat of nuclear holocaust or sort of real sort of danger previously during Cold War, a real danger. You see, two blocks, and they're ready to shoot each other with nuclear weapons. But that already now gone. However, still, there's a number of countries, particularly in Europe, Africa, Northern Africa, still a lot of problems. So sometimes, you see, people may get the sort of impression, basic human nature is more aggressive, more negative. So it is impossible to build peaceful century. Should not think that way. Look, Japan, Germany. I think during Second World War, totally destroyed, really. So these two nations built from the ashes of the destruction, right? From the ashes of destruction. Now very healthy, powerful nations develop. See, both German case and Japanese case, both, you keep self-confidence and willpower. No matter how difficult it is, you see, make effort. Then you see transformed. Now no sign of war damage. Really, very healthy nation. So we can do. Provided we must have vision and method. So vision peaceful century, a method through dialogue. So, at the beginning, I want to share with you. So, the generation of 21st century, you should have vision and need courage, willpower, determination. That's very, very important. Then, I think if you have one question, real peaceful world really possible to achieve? I think the answer is yes. Because now as an old person, now witness last over 70 years, I observed, look, within the 20th century, early part of 20th century, even was a mid part of 20th century, many people feel the war is unavoidable, is something necessary in order to achieve some national interest. I think that, so I think one clear sort of indication, when First World War declared, or Second World War declared, I think every citizen proudly, without any question, joined war effort. I think particularly Japanese. I think really proudly, I think joined war effort. That kind of concept now completely changed. During the Vietnam War, a lot of Americans really opposed the war. And then Iraq crisis, and then Kosovo War. Also, you see, the people, Kosovo, many people against use force. And then, just before Iraq crisis, few millions of people demonstrated, opposed war or violence, from Australia up to the United States. Really. So this shows, out of awareness, war is destructive, bring a lot of sort of suffering. Therefore, opposing war. So, desire for peace, I think including here Japan, particularly opposing nuclear weapon. So very strong, everywhere. Then, in early part of 20th century, I think people, national interest concerned something very important. The later part of 20th century, look, European Union. I often used to visit Europe. So I asked some young people, European, what they feel their neighbor. They say, oh, just a neighbor. We work together and visit each other. No longer some kind of thick barrier between different nations. So, the European Union, you see, developed. So these are, I think, very, very sort of significant sort of indication human thinking are changing. I think a human being basically becoming more mature out of immense suffering, destruction. And then, so I think the desire for peace, I think everywhere, really now, very, very strong. Who understand English? Raise hand. Don't shy.
恥ずかしがらないで、まっすぐ手は元気に上げてください。
One, Only one. Oh, 2, 3,
A little
4.
bit hesitate. So,
Don't hesitate.
ためらわずに分かる人はちゃんと手を挙げてください。
Perhaps you may find it difficult to understand my English because my English is very broken English.
おそらく皆様方は私の英語は結構ブロークンですので、それを理解するのが難しいという意味かもしれませんね。
One of my friend, I always consider him as my teacher about quantum physics. One German professor, one of the former German president's brother, von Weizsäcker. See, he once told me when he was young, in every French eye, Germans, they are enemy. Similarly, in German eye, French is their enemy. Now that kind of attitude completely changed. So, as I mentioned earlier, the European Union, previously, those member states, even if each other considered enemy, but that completely changed. So therefore, one occasion, I think 1996, I had opportunity meeting the late Queen Mother of England. Her own age, 96. So she observed whole the 20th century. So I asked her, since you witnessed the whole century, almost whole century, so the human beings thinking becoming better or same or worse, without second sort of hesitation, she immediately say better. Reason, human right, concept of human right, concept of right of self-determination. In early part, no one talking that. Now these things become universal. She mentioned to me. And then I think the awareness of importance of ecology. Early part, no one talking that. The later part, even political party, Green Party, based on special sort of pay attention about ecology. These are the clear sign of our thinking is becoming more realistic and more wider like that. And then politically, in early part of 20th century, after Russian Bolshevik Revolution, totalitarian system start. Within the same century, that changed. These change not by war, but by popular peaceful movement. So therefore, judging these events in 20th century, that give us hope at basis of courage or determination. Within the same century, a lot of positive change happened because of awareness through difficulties. So therefore, now this century is the continuation of 20th century. So there is a real possibility, to build new happy world. Some people argue, basic human nature is aggressive. So war or violence unavoidable. But then you should think seriously about that. We born from our mother, and immediate after birth, mother immediately took the child and give mother's milk. the child, no idea who is that person, no concept of mother, but biologically, immediately trust that person. So long, mother as a carrier, child feel happy, safe. Separate, fear and crying. And then next few weeks, according to scientists, brain specialists, they say mother's physical touch is very important factor for properly growing or enlarging the brain. Then obviously, next few years, family affection is so important. More affectionate atmosphere there, the children grow mentally, physically, much better. Where the family, cold, no affection, sometimes the children, unwanted children. Then physically, mentally, difficult to grow properly. And then, like me, more peaceful mind, health also much better. Constant fear, constant anger, constant jealousy, constant, hatred, actually very bad for our health, for my health. So now some scientists say these destructive emotions actually eating our immune system. More compassionate mind is very helpful to sustain, to maintain immune system, sometimes increasing. So that shows more compassionate mental attitude is very suitable for this body. Anger, hatred is very much bad effect for this health, for this body. So that means, so therefore we can say basic human nature is more compassionate. So sometimes the people feel compassion, love, forgiveness, these things are religious, a part of religious practice. So those people who have not much interest about religion, then these are irrelevant. That's totally wrong. Whether accept religion or not, that's up to individual. But this warm-heartedness is biologically part of our mind, very important for our body, and naturally very important in our family, in our community. So therefore, basically, now many scientists, tested very young children, their response, picture, some more sort of picture showing more compassionate, children loves. More aggressive or negative, children don't like it. So that some scientists actually experiment, investigate. So they feel basic human nature is more compassionate. So obviously, see, we are social animal, isn't it? So in any social animal, even the wild animal, social animal, they always live together, then feel safe. So in order to live together, mental level, emotional level, showing affection each other, and sense of community. Mental level, these sort of things are very relevant to bring together, live together. So we human beings also social animals. No matter how sort of powerful individual, like I think president, president, oh,
Yes.
president,
Yeah.
oh, so maybe highly educated and sort of very successful life, but the president remain in, or say the one remote area without any human others, human community, you can't survive. Even I think royal, Your Majesty, wonderful person, but remain lonely in mountain, can't survive. So we, as a social animal, our whole life, you see, depend, or existence of our whole life depend on the community. So community is basis of our life, our future, our happiness. So therefore, we are social animal. Therefore, the basic biological factor, more compassion, affection, is very important part of our life, irrespective whether religious minded or not. So I want to tease you. You see, some of you smiling. That's basic human nature now showing. Some of you, like robot, more serious. That I don't think you see was helpful. So better, completely informal, completely sort of open. That's much better. So recently I was in Germany. Hanover. I met some student, and among them some very young children, and just in front of me, this is some very young, I think 5-6-year-old children. Of course, you see, there are some teachers and also is the more senior sort of students also there. At the beginning, they say, looking those young children, very young. So I teasing them. And we Tibetan, usually you see, when we tease each other, we do it this way. Then you see, naturally you see laughing like that. So I told them, then every children look at me, do like that. So see, every children, they're laughing. That is very important. That really creates human feeling, if you remain very serious. And sometimes you see the elder Japanese, sometimes you see...
Am I strict? Am I strict?
When we discuss the other side, the response, so still do not know whether they agree or not very clear. Then human language is wasted. Just remain like that. The language supporting, understanding each other. Through understanding each other,
Communication.
come closer each other. Isn't it? So smile is something very unique about a human being. Perhaps some monkey may have the ability, but otherwise it's the only human being. So this is our gift, smile. Then better to show smile rather than very sort of serious. I think among Japanese students, sometimes you see lonely feeling and even some suicide, you see, happen. I think the surrounding people too much serious. I think very harmful for our health, for our mind. So therefore, we must then smile really gives some kind of peace. And loudly laughing, very good for health. So that Of course, you already know these things. I think I want to remind you. There's something important. Then this school, you see, English lesson, English language.
Very important. Language.
Since a few years, some occasion I expressing the Japanese student should learn English. Because English, whether we like it or not, universal language. And then Japan, highly developed, materially or technologically, highly developed. You can serve more effectively different countries. So now the problem is language problem. So I think sometimes I feel, you see, you quite crowded. And then even though you want to reach out outside or more other people, sometimes you see language difficulties. So therefore, I think my broken English, I cannot write properly, but this broken English quite helpful, quite useful to communicate with other sort of human brothers, sisters. So you also, you see, it is important. Then I think two benefit. Firstly, your sort of expertise, your expertise can make some contribution significantly in different, like sometime in the past, American Peace Corps, like that. Good, go. Now, for example, in the United States, I think students from China, I think over 100,000. There, many of these eventually become professors of different universities. So very few Japanese students I noticed. Occasionally, some professors, Japanese, come from Japan, Japanese, but very few. Of course, China, of course, the population so big. That's also one factor. But in any way, a lot of students there. It is very, very important, very important. So you can be more useful to different countries. And then you yourself also, you see, more see the different countries, particularly developing countries. Then you feel, your own home, much is developed, much happier, get more satisfaction. Otherwise, you should remain here, and then too much sort of stress, and then loneliness feeling. You not properly communicate with others, then lonely feeling. So that, of course, may be irrelevant, but as I mentioned earlier, I always feel I'm one of you. So I felt that, so I expressed. If something goes wrong, then apologize. Thank you. Now some questions.
Тэрнээс Нён Монголиудаа 강연 프로젝트 강연에 세일드 가르나우트에 요래서 Нён 님한테 갑자기 강연에 세일.
I always see sort of believe, and also telling people, now we must build the sense of oneness of humanity. Now the reality, in ancient time, the concept of we and they is relevant. Now modern time, now today's reality, too much sort of solid concept of we and they is outdated, because our future depends on them. Their future also depends on them, on us. So we have to think mutual sort of interest, common interest. But then I think the currently some problems between China and I think Korea also.
Korea also.
Oh, this?
Doctor.
I don't know. You know best. And with patience, with self-confidence, and they talk. That's the only way. We ourselves, we Tibetan, suffer a lot. However, you see, we fully committed through talk, through understanding, respect. We always consider our Chinese, even those hardliner sort of officials, we consider human brothers, sisters.
冒頭の方でお話があったんですが、自分の信じる道を貫くことが大事とおっしゃっていましたが、もし自分の信じる道を貫きたいときに、他人から違う道や新たな道でぶつかってしまった場合、自分はどう決断し、判断していけばいいですか？
他人とぶつかったら。
Important, as I mentioned before, the study about the investigate about the goal, and then also I think useful to seek suggestions from your friend and your teacher and your family member as much as possible. Then at the beginning you should not decide immediately. Consult, think very carefully. Once you decide, then should not hesitate. Go determined as your the predecessors Japanese, very sort of sometimes stubborn is necessary.
His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama and ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor and privilege to have His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama with us at Yakumo Academy today. My name is Mai Taniguchi and I'm in the 11th grade. On behalf of all the students, I would like to take this opportunity to express our sincere appreciation for your lecture. We have learned a great deal from your lecture. I was so impressed with your lecture that I have decided to be more honest and to concern for others more in order to make genuine friends during my high school career. I am sure that all the students here have made up their minds to do something influenced by your lecture. We will always remember the thoughtful words you have given us, and we hope you will enjoy the rest of your stay in Japan. I thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Come. Your English very good.
きまして生徒から王様に花束の方を贈呈させていただきます。
The students give you a flower.
Thank you.